Hello everyone, I'm Geeshan Pandithasekara. Today I'll be presenting a very important topic, software quality assurance, static testing versus dynamic testing. We'll explore what these two approaches mean, how they differ, when we use them, and why both are essential in modern software development. Before we jump into static and dynamic testing, especially, let's first understand what's software testing. The process of testing a software system to see whether it is satisfied the specifications and to identify any defects is known as software testing. It's essential a processing of checking whether the software works properly and whether it does what it's supposed to. We are not just hunting for bugs, we are confirming reliability, reducing long-term costs, the ultimately making sure that users have a good experience. What is the importance of testing? There are so many importance to reduce the risk of failures, to ensure the quality of systems, to save cost by detecting errors early, to ensure that customers' requirements are satisfied. These are the common importance of software testing. There are two types of software testing. First one is static testing, and the second one is dynamic testing. Let's begin with static testing. So, what exactly happens in static testing? Rather than running the software, we review it. We might read through requirements, documents to check for inconsistencies or review codes to ensure that it's following standards. This is where we catch issues like missing functionality, unclear logic, or incorrect document, all without executing single line of code. Now, how is static testing actually performed? We do this through reviews. In a formal review, there's structured process with assigned roles and documentation. Informal reviews are casual, like peer feedback during coding. Technical reviews involve experts evaluating the correctness of solution, and walkthroughs are guided presentations where the author explains the artifact to others. Each type has its own benefits depending on the level of formality and the goal of the review. One of the biggest advantages of static testing is that it's used early in development. We don't wait for the software to be reviewed. We start reviewing as soon as documents or codes are available. We can use manual techniques like code reviews or automated tools like SonarQuid and enforce standards and find common problems. Catching issues at this stage saves a huge amount of time and money. Static testing brings a lot of benefits. It finds issues before they become expensive problems, and it often uncovers the root causes, like gaps in requirements. By preventing difficulty early, we spend less time and effort fixing things later. And because static testing doesn't really on running code, it can catch things dynamically. Testing might miss, like missing logic in documents or architecture. Now let's move on to dynamic testing. This is the part of testing where we actually run the software to see how it behaves. It's about checking whether the system reacts properly to different inputs, whether it crashes or behaves unexpectedly. Unlike static testing, we aren't just reading, we are actively interacting with the software simulating user behavior. Let's talk about the key features and goals of dynamic testing. This type of testing checks how the software performs during execution. Are there any expected behaviors? Are the functions producing correct results? It's really check to ensure that the app works well under real conditions with real use. The key features of dynamic testing. It's executed for the software to run in real time. It focuses to examine the system's performance, interaction with other systems and functional behavior. Its main purpose is to find runtime problems like logic errors, crashes, memory leaks, and wrong output to make sure the software performs as designed. The objectives of dynamic testings are to confirm performance of the software as wished, to ensure the fulfillment of functional requirements, to identify the unexpected errors under different situations. Dynamic testing is usually done after development or once a build is ready. It's especially good at catching bugs that only appear when everything is live. Logic errors, slow performances, or features not interacting correctly, all of that is determined here. This is where users simulate real life usage of the app. So, the dynamic testing is done after the coding phase is over. The main objective of dynamic testing is detect logical errors, performance issues, and functional bugs. When we are going to do the dynamic test, we have to follow several approaches. Those are the types of dynamic testing. But you have to remember that all these things have to be done sequentially. Let's now go through the different levels of dynamic testing, starting from the most basic and moving to the most comprehensive. Let's start with unit testing. This is the most basic level of testing. It focuses on testing individual pieces of code, usually single functions or methods. For example, in our food delivery app, we might have login function. Unit testing would check if the function works correctly when given valid or invalid usernames and passwords. It's like checking each ingredient separately before cooking the whole meal. Next, we have integrated testing. Someone can speak it like integration testing. Here, we check if different parts of the app work properly when combined. Take the order and payment modules. Individually, they might work fine, but together they need to interact correctly. This test would confirm that when a user places an order and pays, the order status update as expected. It's like making sure your on and timer working together in kitchen. Next one is the system test. System testing is the big picture. It checks the entire application from start to finish. In our case, we would test the full flow. The user logins in, browses the menu, adds items to the cart, make a payment, and track the delivery. This is ensure all features are working together to provide the full user experience. And the most important thing is in system testing, we are seeking for retrieving the expected output by giving the correct inputs. Once everything seems ready, we move to acceptance. Most of the times, this is done by end user. This is done to confirm the app meets business's requirements and client expectations. For example, the client might want to use to receive delivery updates every 5 minutes. Acceptance testing will verify if this feature works exactly as requested. It's like the final taste that before serving the dish to customers. Now, let's take a look at two fundamental techniques in dynamic testing: white box and black box testing. White box testing is done with full visibility into the code. For instance, the developer might test the calculate delivery fee function to ensure it calculates the free or the correct collected fee based on distance and time. This type of testing is like looking inside the engine to make sure every part works as expected. We analyze logic, branches, loops, and every possible path. On the other hand, black box testing means the tester doesn't see the internal code at all. They only test inputs and expected output. For example, they might enter different username and password on the login screen to check if the behaves as it should. It's just like using vending machine. You press a button and expect the right snack to come out without needing to know what's going on inside. Dynamic testing is essential because it detects problems that static testing simply can't. But like most good things, it comes with cost. It takes time, planning, and throughout test design. Still, the benefit is that you get to see how your software truly performs in real world use. Let's do a quick comparison. Static testing happens early and it's cheaper, but doesn't give us runtime validation. Dynamic testing is performed after implementation, more resource heavy, but critical to verify actual behavior. In reality, they are both necessary to cover all angles of software quality. So, both static and dynamic testing are very important. Here's summary of pros and cons. Static testing helps prevent problems. Dynamic testing ensures they don't happen when users are using the system. Using both gives us fully quality coverage. You can see here in static testing, these are the pros. Can detect defects early, save cost and time. No need for compiled code. But the cons are cannot detect runtime and logical errors. Depends on reviewing speed. Now let's see about dynamic testing. The pros are verify system functionality, can detect runtime and logical errors. But the cons are most resources, times required. And also it can be costly. Now, by considering this presentation, this is the conclusion of static and dynamic testing. Static and dynamic testing are competing methods. They complete each other. Static testing lets catch problems early by reading and reviewing. Dynamic testing allows us to validate the behavior in real scenarios. Think of static testing as reviewing the recipe and dynamic testing as tasting the food. Both are necessary to deliver something truly excellent. A full software testing process should involve both static and dynamic. Static testing assists in early detection of bugs in structure and documentation of code. Dynamic testing defines actual software behavior and user expectation. These are the references which I have used to make this presentation. The Guru 99, STQB glossary, software testing fundamentals, Somerville, Carnegie. These are the references. That brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I hope this session helped you better understand the roles of static and dynamic testing. If you have any question or would like to discuss this future, I'd happy to talk.